Hey friends, Amy Carter here with Healthy Me, Healthy We. We have an awesome wellness workshop today. And if you haven't noticed, we've moved it to Tuesdays for the last little bit because I have been able to volunteer as a nutritionist. And today, that is super cool. And I'm so excited that we've been able to do this because I have a guest with me today who her nickname, or what she goes by, is Positive Coach Rachel, and her story is absolutely amazing. So to be able to talk to you and share with you her story, deeper than just the health aspect, I think will blow your mind. So I'm going to bring her on screen with me, and I'm going to actually let her tell the story. So this is Positive Coach Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel.
It's totally my pleasure, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here with you.
Awesome. We have been working so hard, you guys, whoever is watching us today. We've been planning this for months, I feel like. So this is monumental to be able to get us both in the same place at the same time. That works for everyone.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have a really special story to tell, and I don't think I would do it justice. So can you introduce yourself to people and tell us why you do what you do? Like, how did you get started in this? And then we'll move on to what you're going to teach us today.
Sure, absolutely. I want to take a second and say congratulations to you and your community whom you're serving as a nutritionalist. That's one of the things that's been hard for us to get together, is you started showing up for your community in a new and valuable way. So that's what we're here for, yeah?
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's like the contribution to your community is something that just moves you up a level, right? Just in your mind, in your abilities, but also in your ability to help other people raise their lifestyle value. It's awesome. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. So tell us about you.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely. I am here today to affirm the power of the mind-body connection. That's something that was absolutely vital bringing me into the world. My mom was advised not to follow through with her pregnancy with me, and she did a phenomenal job using mind-body connection. Should I get into that now?
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. The deal was that both my parents, it was like their multiple-list marriage. They were both into their 40s, on their way. They got married, figuring like, okay, we don't have to worry about pregnancy at all. And then after the honeymoon phase, my mom was like, boy, I just feel sick all the time, and ended up going to her doctor. And her doctor told her two things. One is that she was pregnant, and she was floored. And then the second thing the doctor had to tell her was that she had cervical cancer, that there was cancer marker in her body, that it was cervical cancer. So the proceeding to the doctor's advice was, so we need to take that baby out of there so we can take your uterus, your cervix, everything out so you can have a good, healthy rest of your life. And my mom, of course, had been through her whole own life up until that point. And this was an opportunity that she saw, like, this does not sit right with me. Let me take this in and see what I can actually do about it. And of course, her family, everybody was very worried. She got sent to a lot of specialists, everybody telling her, you cannot follow through with this. But what she did was she got herself an anatomy book and told her eyeballs and her brain and her body, exactly what her cervix looked like. And she says that every night she went to bed, she would imagine the cancer spiraling around the cervix, never going in towards me, never going out towards her. And sure enough, here I am, that end of the story. And then she went back into the hospital when she was able, and she got a hysterectomy. And in her words, like, the doctor was crying because he was so sure that she was going to die. But in fact, they had taken out all of that, and the cancer had, in fact, spiraled around her cervix, not gone in, not gone out. She has never tested for cancer in
in that way, positive mental connection is what brought me into the world. I can't deny that it had an awesome effect on her. It's given me the fabulous life. And I feel like it's one of the many things that propelled me on this trajectory to claim myself as positive coach Rachel. I have a personal training business, business called Hoosier Trainer. Indiana. Anybody in Indiana calls Hoosier. So Hoosier Trainer business name, and I am so what I really, really, really shine at is helping people identify exactly where they are and value everything that they have brought to the table, and then being able to build on the strengths that they have, and then in that way, slowly and progressively cycle through predictable things and move upward in their full health. And one of the really important and valuable pieces is once you repeat them all the time and you find out how your own self responds to activity and thoughts and questions, then you try to elicit in others. So you try to take that health that you have and make connections with the people around you, with your family, wherever you are at work. So that is something that really brings us together here. Is that importance of a healthy me is right now where you're starting from already has an amount of health, and then you build, spiral upwards in health, and then share that with health.
That's right. That's so awesome, and what an amazing story. So you're breaking up a little bit on your sound. Is there a way to? I want to make sure everyone can hear you clearly.
No, that is the way it was set before. Is that any better?
A little bit.
Is that any better?
A little bit.
A little
Yeah.
bit. A little tiny
Yes.
bit.
That's good.
Okay, I'll use my big public speaking voice.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Is there any part that you want me to repeat? Did you miss an integral part?
No, it just was breaking up a little bit as to like how you take that. But I believe what you were saying is that you take people where they are, where they start, and it sounds like you just help them move up the cycle and take those steps from one positive thought to the next, and moving until basically until they've created this thing, this cup, right? This life that is, they're able to share it with other people. So it's this healthy me creating this healthy me, and then creating a healthy we, being able to contribute to others because of that basically the system that they've created in their own life to be able to share that with other people. Does that sound about right?
Yes, absolutely. The metaphor that I use is that we're building a house. That's a pretty good, straightforward metaphor. And then the cycle that we use is the ACE cycle, and there are 3 steps to it. First is awareness, without any kind of judgment, which is really liberating. There's choice, recognizing that making no choice is actually a choice, or when things are difficult, being able to expand and view and looking around, what are the choices that I haven't thought yet? And then the third one is enacting and just living out and experiencing being the healthier life that you want. So in the awareness phase of building that house, it's looking around like, oh, this is a brick that I lay every day. Every single day I brush my teeth and look at, oh, I sometimes floss, sometimes that brick is there, sometimes it's not. And recognizing what kinds of bricks you have, positive or negative, whatever that is, that's the foundation of your daily life, your daily health. It can be things that are stable, or it can be things that are shaped. That's the awareness phase. What kind of bricks is your house made? And then choices is recognizing that you are the one laying the bricks each day. So it's your choice to go in and brush, floss, or exercise, or meditate, or to omit something that you don't need to be laying down in your house every single day. You have that power to lay it aside. And then the enacting phase is where you have, you know, this nice structure around you, and then from this strong, healthy base, you can look out and really engage with the world and people around you.
That's so awesome. So you make me think of two things. First, the choice, the power of choices. And something I teach my clients too is what I call the 2% progress precept. Just the smallest steps we make, right? Either to add something or to remove it or to do both will move us in the direction that we want to go. So, and how that's the laying of the bricks every day. I love that visualization. I think that's awesome. And then the enacting, I can't remember who this came from, but there's an old what's it like framework basically that someone taught, that's the be do have framework, where we would in the past have thought, oh, I need to have something in order to do something, in order to become something. But in fact, it is the other way around, exactly how you were saying. We have to become someone to do something to have the results that we want to get out of that, right? So that sounds like exactly what you're teaching is to be the kind of person that, you know, we say, I am a runner, or I am someone who, I'm an early riser. I'm someone who loves to go to bed. I love to meditate, right? It's kind of that telling ourselves that we are something so that we can begin to believe it and then practice that belief.
Yeah, and shine it for anybody around. And then that gives them, of course, the power, like, oh, I can do that too. When you show up for yourself, it really is for other people. You think about your own viewpoint. How many times have you seen somebody and been like, that does affect me and inspire me and give me a little bit of energy in the right direction.
That's so true. And the mirroring, when we say to people, this is who I am, then that's who they treat us as. Like, oh, you do that. Oh, that's something I like to do too. So then we build that support system because we have mirrored what we want and what they want at the same time. It's that connection is amazing. So that's awesome. So what I would love to know, like, people that you've worked with, how have you seen this system that you teach, this cycle, create positivity in their lives, positive change? What have you seen? Like, what kind of transformation have you seen in other people?
Well, there is one client I'll tell you about. He himself had a lot of history of being an athlete. Some people are that way, people are not that way. This person had a lot of history of being an athlete. And I met him now when he's a grandpa, and he's had all kinds of neuropathy. You know, his body has really been beaten down, and his life has gotten so much more complicated, so many layers. I'm thankful that my first modality is exercise, because there can be a lot going on in the mind of an actual part of minutes of your life. But as soon as we can take take his focus to something as concrete as this hour of exercise, what is it that you can do that you are doing great, that we can build on and leave you off feeling stronger and better? That was a major flip switcher in his life. So being able to have that regular, reliable time frame where he's committed to only his own personal physical development, all kinds of other dominoes fell into life that were fell into place in his life. So now he is revisiting a high school cross country running track that he actually helped build a long time ago, and bringing his granddaughter along with him. So he himself, he's like reclaimed his physical ability, reconnected with all kinds of vital energy, and then it's radiating out directly to his granddaughter. And then that really sounds like it helps the harmony of the whole family. You know, things can get really complicated, but when one person in the mix of something feels ownership over themselves, feels empowered to experience health in some fresh new way, it is going to leak out and spread more health in the family. If not immediately like that, like, oh my gosh, it gave me stars and rainbows. Guess what? I took her out to the old cross country. But also, you know, lasting the rest of her adulthood and the other people as well. Life has just gotten easier and sunnier.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
A couple things I love.
it.
I bet it's so fun to watch people, and even when you know that all of this is true, it's amazing every time to watch someone go through a transformation, right? You're like, wow, that's so amazing, like as if we didn't know that this stuff actually works. And it does. That's so awesome. I love, first of all, that you started with something that he loved and knew well, like with the exercise, like that. If that was his strength, you played to his strengths. So that's so great. First of all, that I see, like, if anybody on here wonders where they should start with your strengths. Start with something that you love to do, right? If you're going to create change, start where you love to do something, and get the ball rolling that way. And then that he focused, like, just that 1 hour to get out of his head and focus on something that he could do. His ability totally rippled into everything else that he does. And so if we want to change our family, who we cannot make their choices for them, but we certainly can influence them with our choices. So the fact that he took his personal responsibility and then was better able to show rather than tell what happiness looked like for him, helped them to create that in their own lives. And his granddaughter, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Gosh, I'm trying to think of another question. So what challenges have you seen? Oh, yes, please.
Can I tell you that I've been a personal trainer for a very long time. Before that, I was a dancer. I've always been some sort of physical teacher. And going back to, like, knowing that the change is possible, but then being so excited, elated when it actually goes into action for somebody, using this cycle of behavior change is something that has been such a repeat. So if any of your listeners are also practitioners, something that you're in service to other people, this cycle of behavior change takes so much of the pressure and the expectation off of me having a magic wand and, like, me being able to actually do anything for somebody else when we're not face to face. So what this does then is put the whole ball in that person's court with absolute support, and you know you're going to repeat and come back to it again, but it takes it lets me open up my heart a lot more and know that all I have to do is support somebody and ask the questions that I hear that are already in their mind, and let them, you know, find the right path to the answers that are true for them. Because I can tell you answers that are true for me, but they're not going to have that same kind of gut reaction as when the person going through it actually comes up with their own answers. So it's a really powerful, effective tool, personal, and has a lot of room for love, not a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And you said that at the beginning, which I wanted to stress again, how important it is to go into change with no judgment. Because we are all constantly changing. And if we are constantly judging every little step that we make, then it's miserable. It's misery that we are, because we're just stuck. We are just there. And Adam Grant, who's an organizational psychologist, calls it languishing rather than flourishing, because we're kind of like, well, life's not bad, but it's not how I want it to be. But if I move forward, then I have to become different. I have to do something different. And it really all begins with me, and it all begins up here. So that's awesome that the ACE cycle really with the awareness and recognizing, and in fact, we've been doing this with our kids too, making them more aware of how they're feeling in the moment, and responding rather than reacting, and making things more intentional. And it sounds like, being aware and then making that choice and then doing that choice, that cycle of change can be applied to every area of change that you want to create in your life, right? Whether it's work, whether it's your physical health, whether it's your emotional health or your mental health, your relationships, to be aware of what's going on and then recognize that you have to start with you before you can enable that in someone else. Or, you're kind of giving them permission to do that too, but it has to start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. In a broad and non-fitness application, and since this is Healthy Me, Healthy We, I'm also a very proud president of our community association in our town, and it's like a super funky, like hippies and veterans town on a river. So it's also kind of like herding cats to get new things going. And there is a long history, like there are a lot of generational houses and families here. So there's history that I've come into doing it. So here I am, only myself, trying to be the leader of this deep organization of neighbors. And I've had wonderful success. Of course, there have been pinches, disagreements, that history comes bubbling up, but being able to keep my own awareness, being like, oh, this is old stuff. This is, only somewhat relevant to what we're going to be doing moving forward. And then being able to take the whole group and not telling them, this is what's going on, but asking the questions that raise the awareness of the group. So each individual people have a chance to, state how things are actually going for them at that moment, the awareness in the moment rather than dragging up history, and then laying out, what are some choices, this direction. And then that way, when we finally get to enacting, we again found ourselves as a really nice, cohesive group that has forward momentum, leading with open hearts, love, and service in a group. Whereas if I had tried to impose or really played the president card, or if it were maybe somebody else in leadership, it would have been fractured and we would have lost a lot of momentum. So in that way of leadership in our own little town here, I've been able to see that this nice non-judgment, open-minded, forward-focused, strengths-based is really effective.
That's awesome. That's really great. So for anyone who watches or listens to this afterwards, to understand that you can make an impact in your community, in your family, in your relationships, in your career, with your coworkers, any place that you are, to be able to take people through this cycle of change will really, and to not play the president card has actually, just from listening to you, helped put you in a better position of authority and expertise and trust, because you're not forcing something on people. You're not telling them, it's not military style. It's more of a feedback style, like you said, playing to the strengths and moving them forward, getting feedback and building that relationship so they feel like they're contributing as much as you are, even though you're leading them in that direction. So that really is a beautiful way to look at progress, is this constant, it's not just one wheel spinning. You're never in isolation, right? What you do is never in isolation. So you're always going to influence other people. So why not influence them to make better choices in their lives, by teaching them the way that you've done things as well. I love the momentum that you've created in your little town.
Thank you.
That's
and
awesome.
I attribute it all the way back to my mom having that positive mind-body connection, that never wavering question that you have control of your own autonomy. So I also wanted to encourage parents, like your outlook can grow and beyond even of course, your own lifetime. That positivity really.
Yeah. Right. There was someone I was talking to just the other day, or listening to, and they said, change really comes, it's like 3 generations down the road. So in order to see the change you want to see in the world, you have to create this long vision, this future vision, really far ahead, not to think, oh, this begins and ends with me, or even this begins and ends with me and my children. No, this begins and continues with your children and their children and the next children. Because I live in a town where we have a really large population of high income families and a large income population of low income families. And to be able to teach those who are struggling economically to infuse or create new routines and habits in their life that help improve their lifestyle, it takes more than just the parents doing something. It takes the parents teaching the children, who then grow up and teach their children, and those habits get a little bit better over time. So then the culture of the family changes. And it really, it takes that time. So the fact that you have created that change in your community so quickly is really something to be celebrated. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me, when it's happening, it does not feel quick. That 2% change at a time feels like, versus what you can envision and imagine. Such a huge gap, and the only way to keep going forward is that little bit of love and positivity each chance you get.
That's right. Just one step at a time. One step at a time. That's so awesome. And I really appreciate everything that you've shared today. So before we end this training, is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners, our viewers, who want to take something away that they can implement today? What would be the one thing that you would teach them, besides the ACE cycle, which I think is really, really important? If there was one thing you could tell them to start today, what would that be?
If there is one way to improve, I think, your life and the life around you today, and you're already trying, you're already giving some effort that way, one thing that you can train or do is to turn off the word part of your brain. Tell that part, shush, just a second, and focus on one sensory organ and experience that. So if I'm looking out my window right now, I'm not, when I'm doing this practice, it's not, I'm thinking, oh, those leaves are so green and pretty. It's letting the green come in through your eyeballs and like resonate through your body and feel the effects of that. Use your senses as a direct input. Let that resonate with your human existence, rather than always putting things into words, because you can trick yourself, you can gyp yourself out of the whole human experience if you miss absorbing through your senses. So please,
go ahead.
Absorb through your senses.
Yeah, what a good point to be made. And I have learned this through meditation and through teaching people about nutrition, that it's too often, right? We're in our car, we're eating, we're doing all of these things that is sensory overload. We're connected all the time. And to be able to stop and enjoy and really absorb, like you're saying, one sensory activity at a time. I've really tried to stop reading while I'm eating, because It's that doing two things at once, while we think that we can do it, and we're like clapping and patting ourselves on the back for a job well done and multitasking, we forget the experience that we've had in doing those things at all if trying to do too many things at once. So the enjoyment increases when we actually take things out of the equation and focus on one of them at a time. That's so true. So I hope that those who are watching or have been listening will take that away, that doing more at once is not successful. Like, we wear this badge of thinking that doing more means I am more worthy, I am more valuable. But in fact, we are losing the worth of the things that we're doing. So if we just stop and enjoy each moment and be present in each of those activities that we choose, then life will be more enjoyable. We will actually see more results in our lives of what we want to accomplish, right? Because we are so focused and present in that one thing that we are doing at a time. So awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. Is there anything else? I believe that you've shared your website is hoosiertrainer.com, right? And anywhere else that people can connect with you after we end this call?
Oh, sure. Yep. I am on Facebook as Hoosier Trainer. You can also find me Rachel Withridge, my real last name, and I have a group called Balanced Bodies, which is a private group. And the way that you would find that would be to go through the Hoosier Trainer page or Balanced Bodies page. And I do have a website, and I'm on YouTube with Hoosier Trainer, and Instagram, I'm Positive Coach Rachel.
Awesome.
Yep, I'm accepting virtual personal training clients, so I can work with anybody, anywhere in the world. My hours are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are, I can get my eyes on you and make a good plan and work with you.
Awesome. I 100% support that. I hope that whoever is looking for a personal trainer to focus on, working with Rachel and the cycle and the positivity, I just think that brings so much more results than doing 100 reps, right? Of some sort of exercise. It really all starts with your positivity, your belief, your thoughts, and then putting that into small and simple steps. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. I've really enjoyed this, and we'll post this in the group as well. This has been live in the group, but if you have any questions, Rachel is in the Healthy Me, Healthy We crew group as well. Yep. So please reach out to her if you have any other questions, and we have really enjoyed sharing this with you. So thanks so much for joining me, Rachel.
Thank you, Amy. Stay well.
You too. Thank you. Make it a great day, friends. We'll talk to you next week.